Panamera and say farewell to the French Alps, the wilderness where we are right now. You can see the Peace Bashers up on the mountain preparing the slopes ready for tomorrow, but the sun is, well, not even yet up. The RaceChip Panamera, this is my last time that I'm going to be driving it and taking it to Lyon airport where I'm catching a flight, and the car is being transferred on from there for me by Will from By Right Transport. He's popping out just to drive it over. But it's been a pretty solid adventure with this car. A lot of fun having it here in the snow. Just so you can see when it's got my luggage in it, pretty big suitcase. There's loads of space back here as well for as much else as you could possibly want. And then the four-wheel drive of the 4S diesel is not struggling with the Pirelli Soto Zeros even on this kind of stuff. It's kind of amusing actually because it's genuinely harder to walk on here than it is for the car to drive. It just drives up without problem and I'm slipping all over the place. Anyway, it's time now for me to jump in the car. Let's get on our way and head over to the airport. Now before we get on the move, lining up my cameras so that they can see exactly the right thing as always. And I'm going to load up Waze because I don't necessarily trust a navigation system to know about traffic, because when you have snow like this, traffic conditions can be really, really variable, and obviously I don't really want to miss my flight too much this morning. So it's about 180 kilometers as the crow flies. That is all set. The Porsche nav is a pretty good system in here, obviously, but that just, I like the reassurance that comes with Waze. So we're running in efficiency mode on the RaceChip, and away we just pull. It is crazy, and I've got my seat heater on already, which is making my bum nice and warm, which is always fun. But it just drives up on this kind of terrain in a way that it really shouldn't be able to. It's super, super easy, and honestly, this ground, I've got some trainers with some decent tread on the bottom, and they could barely walk up here, and the car is doing this out of hitch, not slipping anywhere. Even there. This is, I don't know how it does it, but it's impressed me. The thing I'd like to try is what my FF is like doing this. With the same tyres, the same Pirelli Soto Zeros, but the Ferrari four-wheel drive system is not quite as sort of full-on traditional, created for this terrain. Anywho, out onto the main road. All easy so far. Even that van that I've just got alongside had its snow chains on, because basically vehicles aren't expected to drive in these conditions. So I won't be having quite as much fun on the way down the hill that I had on my way up when I arrived in Mirabel, because it was dry then, and basically I was enjoying the dynamic capabilities of this car. It's kind of amazed me, the breadth of ability. Hey, that was fun. So the car felt a tiny bit of slip, so it sort of tensed the seatbelt, pulled it in, prepared just in case anything happens. But yeah, on the way up, I was driving in race mode here, Sport Plus in the car, and race mode on the RaceChip, and it was awesome. But then on the motorway, I've been driving in efficiency mode on the RaceChip and normal mode on the car, which has meant like 1,000 kilometers on a tank of fuel. I've got it in lift mode as well on the suspension right now, so the KW springs have variable suspension, but lift mode, obviously in case I run into any large clumps of snow on the pavement and we need to drive over them. But one of the things driving downhill in snow, it's really just a case of taking it gently, taking it easily, and not doing anything crazy. I might actually wait here for that big truck to come up and pass me, just in case, because he's rather on the large side, and I don't fancy losing a door mirror today. You just have to go downhill at a speed at which, when you do brake, you can genuinely come to a stop. Now, it's surprising me how good the brakes are when I do try and stop. You know, if I do a sort of test from 30 kilometers an hour, go past these rocks, we're basically driving on snow. You can feel the ABS, but the car does come to a stop very, very assuredly, which is quite nice. So you kind of feel like you can get away with going a little bit more. And if you didn't have winter tyres on, not a chance. Honestly, I would love to have two of the same car, one with winter tyres and one without. But if you tried to do this or that without winter tyres, you would just be slipping. If you tried to drive uphill without winter tyres in any kind of car, or any front-wheel drive car, let's say, you don't have a chance. A car with winter tyres on, four-wheel drive without winter tyres, maybe, but it's still going to be a little bit sketchy, especially compared to this. It makes so much difference. So I thoroughly recommend, by the way, everyone put winter tyres on your car. If you live in a place that it might snow, it is well worthwhile. So anywho, I'm going to continue on the road, head down the hill, hopefully it will warm up, and then get towards the airport. Down the mountain we go, the very same kind of roads I'll be driving in summer, in something a little bit different probably, but this, for this time of year, is just about perfect. And you know, a random thing I want to show you is the wipers. When I run the front washer for the windscreen, it has like 3 jets, and it gets the whole thing completely wiped perfectly. I have not seen a car do it so well before. You have cars obviously where the jet comes out of the wiper blade, those do a pretty good job, but this just cleans everything off immediately, which is really quite nice for driving in winter. Hairpin after hairpin. That is basically the red line there, guys, before you're wondering. It's funny how sort of quiet it is, obviously, A, because it's diesel, B, because this car is built for comfort rather than in-your-face brutish noise. I've just arrived in the sort of sleepy, quiet little town of Bried-les-Bains down at the bottom of the sort of valley, or further down the valley. And the last time I was here was last year on the way to the Geneva Motor Show when I was driving in the Ferrari California T, and we rocked up here. There was no snow, fortunately, because we had summer tyres, and rocked up here in the Alps in a Ferrari, which is what I'm going to be doing again in a month or so with my FF. But it's quite funny, every time to come back always with an exciting car. Just pootling through, there is nobody around because it is so early in the morning. Cruising through the valley, looking out ahead at the snow-covered mountain tops. Nature can be very, very beautiful, and especially with the light coming up like this early in the morning. Just kind of a dim haze looking over the mountains, the clouds hovering just above them. Cruising along the motorway towards the airport and out of the Alps. Sadly, I suppose. I am very, very tired though, I'm not gonna lie. It's been quite a hard couple of days. Well, skiing is always pretty exhausting, but creating some video content as well, planning my agenda for things that are coming up. Yeah, it's all a little bit mental, shall we say. I'm entering into my final bit of driving in the RaceChip Panamera. I've got about 30 or 40 kilometers to go, but that's making me think a little bit about the question that I referred to when I picked up this car in Stuttgart a week ago. So I put out my video a couple of weeks ago of what car will I eventually replace the FF with, because the FF sits in such a unique kind of position as a vehicle that's quite hard to replace. And I mentioned obviously that a lot of people told me new Panamera, referring in general to Panamera Turbo of course, but I've got a bit familiar with the car. This isn't quite as fast as the Turbo, and it's obviously a diesel engine, but we can sort of relate to it a little bit, and I'm pondering, you know, should or could this be my replacement? And I think, well, I'm interested in your feedback. To me, a Ferrari has the flair and the Italian V12, and something about the fact that it's hand-built and unique and special. I mean, it's not unique, there are probably a couple of thousand of them, but the FF is something else. It may not have as much luggage space as this, it may not have anywhere near the sort of equipment level of this, and even the GTC4 Lusso, which has massively better, it won't be as well put together as this. I think the Germans and Porsche do that exceptionally well, even though the Lusso will be significant steps up from the FF in terms of the electronics and the entertainment side. But there's something that this doesn't quite have in terms of character. It doesn't have quite the looks. Porsche is a fantastic brand. I mean, I've really enjoyed my GT4 ownership, and I'm going to have another Porsche at some point, but it's just not quite a Ferrari to me. I think, let's say if I had one of these, which is the sensible engine for road trips, the diesel, 4S diesel, 4-wheel drive, and this kind of fuel economy, I don't think you'd be quite as interested in my videos, and especially when I'm about to take the FF on a 3-week road trip across Europe. It's quite exciting when it's in the FF, even if it's very, very heavy on the fuel consumption, because it's a Ferrari, it has that screaming V12, and when you drive it, it drives like a beast of a sports car, whereas although this drives very, very well and it's very capable dynamically, it's not quite the same feel. It's quite hard to explain it. I'm sure the Turbo would introduce some of that, but you'd never get the noise, you'd never get the V12 out of one of these, and even if you added some exhaust system on, it's so far back that you're just not going to hear very much of it anyway. So it's been an interesting one for me, because I think for a normal person doing the kind of thing I do, you want to go on road trips, you want to go to the Alps every now and then, you want to travel across Europe, this thing is absolutely brilliant. I mean, every reviewer or journalist who's written an article about the new Panamera has said that so far, and they are not wrong. It's comfortable, it's really quiet, it does over 1,000 kilometers on a tank of fuel, it just wafts along, it's very, very reliable in terms of build quality, everything's really nicely together, there are no funny noises or sounds or anything. And I mean, what does it not do, apart from cost quite a lot, obviously, but that's all relative. The looks are now improved. The new generation Panamera 2 looks better than it did before, and I love the way it all sort of looks and feels. Yeah, there's some slight fiddles with the haptic feedback, that you press the wrong button by mistake every now and then, but it's better than the previous system, and it's a nice glimpse of what's coming. I love the way you've got the toggle on the steering wheel for Sport, Sport Plus, and the various settings. And I mean, as you know from driving this car with the RaceChip in race mode, there's quite a lot of performance and power out of it. I don't know the headlight numbers, but it definitely gets a move on exceptionally quickly, and it's been fascinating to experience quite how much you can tell the difference putting it in efficient mode, putting it in race mode. And it's immediately noticeable. It makes a fundamental difference to the driving style, and also to the feel and responsiveness of the torque earlier in the rev range, the throttle response, and even the sort of gearbox changes are more aggressive and a little bit sportier when you're in race mode. So I should waft along the final bit of driving, fill the car up before I hand it over, and then it'll be time to say farewell. Okay then, here we are. Let's enter the car park and then drop it off. Amazing. Well, it's not looking very busy here, is it? This has to be the quietest airport I've seen in quite a while. Goodness me. And there we go, another adventure comes to an end. By right, taking away the Panamera to go back to RaceChip. And I am ready to head into the airport and check in, get my luggage in, and get on the flight back towards London. What an adventure, what a car to be driving in, perfect for the purpose. So that's what I like doing with the content I create for you guys. It's about the car being right for the conditions and environment and type of content that I'm going to be creating with it. And that, for a four-wheel drive adventure to the Alps, was just spot on. So a big thanks to RaceChip for all of this with the Panamera. It has been amazing, from picking it up, the whole trip I've been going on, and obviously skiing over the last couple of days as well. Thanks of course to you guys for watching, and to Will for taking the car back to RaceChip for me. That's it for now. I will catch up with you again with more adventures very soon. Cheers!